Today I really just want to take a revisit to talk a little bit about what's been going on with the world of the fourth stimulus checks, specifically the checks. Now, the big story right now is that, as most of you guys know, is that there are really two sides to the story. The first has to do with essentially the federal stimulus checks. So this is the one that everyone should hopefully care about because it applies to all 50 states. And then the second part of it has to do with very, very focused, targeted checks that are going to be applying to very particular specific people, whether this is a group of people that are part of a particular program, a demographic, or just a particular state. So we're going to get right to it because we do have a lot of stuff to cover. There are some programs that are actually approved that are happening right now on a very subtle, low-key level. Again, keep in mind is that some of these are very targeted, but they do apply to millions and millions of people, so there is definitely a probability that it may apply to you. And if anything, hopefully we can at least take some relief to know that there are at least other people, fellow Americans, that are able to get some kind of help right now. So as always, we're going to get right to it, but maybe real fast before we begin, exactly the same drill. Consider smashing the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell if you guys are brand new here. Huge thanks if you guys have been here for a while. As always, feel free to comment any questions, personal thoughts, maybe by the end or at any time. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So when it comes to the world of the fourth stimulus federal check, so keep in mind this is the one that applies to every single person here. The key idea right now is that the maybe just general thing that's going on is that they're not spending as much time talking about it, not in the sense that it's silent, but more in the sense that right now at this current time in Congress, their biggest focus is really revolving around trying to get the infrastructure plan really be able to finalize and get through. Now, the big thing, however, is that one thing that is relatively new information is that there is a petition, as some of you guys know, that has been going around in order to try to collect 3 million signatures. And the great news of that story is that they are now very, very close to 3 million signatures. I think they're literally just about a couple thousand signatures away. And so what's going on is that this is essentially a petition that has been going on for the last couple of months in order to do monthly stimulus checks. And the story is that when this petition reaches 3 million signatures, what they're really hoping to do is that now they're going to take this petition and try to bring it into Congress and then see what Congress is hopefully going to say. It is looking like it's very hard to call right now what's going to happen. However, one thing that I think it's relatively believed by a lot of people that speculated that is actually still a much more probable situation is that while there is a lot of uncertainty if they will be doing any more federal stimulus checks, even though again we will get basically maybe at least one more push to maybe take a chance at it. One thing that is happening is that there are definitely a lot of talks right now about trying to do very focused and targeted checks. So for example, one program that has actually already been approved and has been actually going on for a while, but is now actually starting deliveries, has to do with the California stimulus checks. And there's a couple other states that we will be talking about just in a little bit, so definitely stay tuned for that. But the story with it is that essentially California approved 2 more additional state checks. So in a lot of ways, essentially what happens is that they got the first 3 stimulus checks that every single state pretty much got, and then they also got 2 additional checks, so you can even say that they got a 4th and a 5th stimulus check. The great news is that they started to deliver a batch last week, specifically on October 15th, and I believe this went out to about 1.2 million residents. It is believed that this program is going to apply to about 2/3 of the residents in California. So that is a lot of people. When you're talking about one of the largest states, certainly in population, and the fact it applies to 2/3, I think they estimated in total that this is going to go out to probably about 9 million people in total. At least certainly that 9 million is the number of people that could potentially physically qualify for something. So that is actually really, really great news. I mean, 9 million people is a lot of people. So hopefully, if you happen to be there, huge congrats. Outside of that state, maybe we can at least take relief to know that there are other fellow Americans that are at least getting some kind of help. Of course, we hope, something comes much more globally, but that is still a lot of people. I do believe is that they are expecting to send the next wave of payments if you happen to be there. I believe around the beginning of November. I think specifically they gave the date November 1st, 2021. So essentially 2 weeks later from last week, which is when they sent one of the waves, and then there's going to be another wave next week, and they're hoping to send this now to another, hopefully several million. Of course, we're just going to be waiting until then to see kind of what really ends up happening. The specific amount that you will be getting if you happen to be there is that you'll be getting essentially a $600 stimulus check, or if you have not actually received the fourth California stimulus check, so the first specific state check, then you could be getting potentially two payments of $600, so $1,200, and then $500 additional for every single child. But at the very, very minimum, it'll be at least $600 to potentially up to $1,200 to even more if you have a lot of children. Now, on to some other couple of states. So, there's also a lot of updates that there are several states right now that may potentially be trying to come up with some kind of universal basic income, or essentially just testing their own kind of monthly stimulus checks. For example, one state, and now this one is actually a proposal, so huge heads up, it happens to be in Michigan. So Michigan is hoping to potentially propose a plan where they might potentially be doing $500 monthly stimulus checks ongoing for the next 3 years. So this is something that's going to be potentially just universal and could be potentially a really, really big thing to do $500 every single month for the next 3 years. Of course, this one right now is still a proposal, so we're still kind of just waiting for details further from here. Now, beyond this is that I do notice is that the proposal that we kind of talked about in one of the last updates, I'll put that at the very, very end screen as well, but it's pretty much going to be talking about the Social Security stimulus checks. The idea, as a very, very quick recap, is that there is now a proposal that's floating around in order to try to push, and there's a pretty reasonable number of people that are trying to push for this as well. Essentially just trying to do a $1,400 stimulus check, so another wave of that specifically to Social Security recipients. This is something that once again is going to apply to just another, I believe even like tens of millions of people inside of our country. So once again, hopefully there's some level of relief for that. And I think that what's going on right now is that they're still trying to push forward, but it's actually gaining even more momentum than the last time we talked about. So there are even more politicians that are really trying to jump on board in order to try to push for it. This is even more true right now because they are negotiating a lot of things related to the fourth stimulus package, and there are certain programs that they are planning to actually interestingly add, surprisingly. But there are also certain programs that they're potentially hoping to potentially remove. Now, obviously, if this is something that is not actually included in the fourth stimulus package, then it's more probable that it's going to be added, or at the very least, still continue to be some kind of standalone bill. But the idea is that at least they're taking steps forward. And I think that is the really, really relatively hopeful news. And again, at least we do also have, another kind of stimulus check that's been approved that's going out to just several millions now in the upcoming weeks. So really beyond that that's what I really just wanted to share in today's update. So if you guys found that relatively insightful, maybe especially if you do happen to be in one of those demographics that we talked about, maybe consider smashing the like button if you guys haven't, because it's always greatly appreciated. Consider subscribing for similar videos like this, and as always, feel free to comment any questions, personal thoughts about anything. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.